Hi guys, welcome back to a video, and in today's video I will be showing you an extensive guide on the move trigger. So I know a few of you beginning players, there's tutorials out there on how to use the move trigger, but there's still a lot of things that when I watched one of these videos I still had questions about. So in this video I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know. And apologies if my voice cracks because, 14-year-old boys. Anyways, so I'm going to start with the basics. I'll put a timestamp in the description if you already know how to basically use it, do the basics. But I'll put a timestamp after I get done with this first part. So how you use the move trigger is you're gonna go to the Edit tab, click on that. You're gonna click on that block, and you're gonna go to Edit Group and those buttons on the side. If you see that button that I'm enlarging right there, Edit Group, you're gonna, where it says Enter Group ID, you can do one of two. You can click the right arrow and set it to 1, or you can use your keyboard on mobile, or if you're on computer, and then you click Add. So now this block, it's labeled as Group 1. So if we're wanting to move it, say a few blocks over, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to click on the move trigger, click Edit Object right next to Edit Group, where it says Target Group ID. So since we set the block to Group 1, that means we're going to be moving Group 1 here. So let's say we want to move the block 3 blocks over in the editor, 3 grid spaces. So for some reason, every 10 equals 1 grid space. That's just how it works, I guess, in Geometry Dash. But if we wanted to move 3 blocks over, we just basically add a 0. Just add a 0 to however many. So if you wanted to move it 13 blocks, just add a 0 at the end and click it to that would be 130. So how I recommend you do this is typing it instead of using the scroll wheel, because the scrolling thing, because that won't give you the best results. So set that to 30 at move X. Move X moves it left or right, and the Y moves it up or down. If you guys know anything about math or in graphing, then that's what you're going to be doing. So move time, say we want to move it pretty quickly, so we can just leave it at 0.5, which means it's going to move in 0.5 seconds. And for the easing, we'll get into that later, but boom, there you have it. That's how you move it. So you see it moved 3 spaces. All right, so here is the how to do the easing. Easing is very, very crucial to how you want to make your levels feel animated and alive. The first one, ease in and out, is one I use very often. You see how it kind of swooped? We can also make it to where that the move trigger, if we move it back here, the object will move sooner. You can make it into a creative object if you want. You can do a lot of things with the easing. So the easing, you use these left and right arrows here to change it. There's so many you can choose from. I'll give some examples of some. I like using bounce out a lot because it'll bounce out. See that? You can use, I use exponential out a lot, except it doesn't really work well in this environment. But there's so many you can choose from and mess around with, but you just move left and right. Those are definitely things that you'll want to check out. All right, move time. Move time, all you have to do is click on that 0.5 that it's set to default. It's set to default at 0.5, and you can change it. Click on that, and you can change it with your keyboard, and you can change it to anything you want. So if we want it to move in 1 second, it'll move a little bit slower. And that's how you use move time, pretty simple. Now, we're going to go over the types of move triggers you can do. You can do just this regular trigger for when you're cubed. You see my cube, it's about to go over that little cyan line there. And that's when it's going to, 1 second, my bad. Change it back to default. That means as soon as the cube passes under the move trigger, it's going to move. You can also use this, touch triggered. That means whenever the cube touches it, it moves. But see, if I were to jump over it, it wouldn't move because it didn't touch the actual trigger. Okay. This last one is spawn trigger. This one's a little bit more complicated, but if I do anything, the cube won't move. It just won't. So how we want to toggle it is we can use a spawn trigger or a toggle trigger. This example, we're gonna use a spawn trigger, and so what we need to do is click on the move trigger and click edit group. Click the right arrow to set it to group 2. Just like you can have up to 999 groups, which can make some really cool levels. So that's one thing. So we want to whenever you go under the spawn trigger, it moves the same. You can touch trigger, spawn trigger, but it's pretty confusing. This section isn't you don't really need to use spawn triggers that often. But if you use a spawn trigger, then whenever it passes under the spawn trigger, it spawns the move trigger, which activates the object to go left. And so you can use the delay here, and say we want to delay it by 1 second. After 1 second, the object will move, as you saw right there. Okay, enough with that. We're going to reset it to normal. And we're going to just undo what we did there. And so now, regular, okay. So, another type of moving you can do is locking to player X or locking to player Y. These are so useful. If you want to make the block follow you all the time when you're moving right, then you check off lock to player X, and then it functions as a move trigger. The thing is, you cannot put the move X and move Y functions with the lock player X, so they'll just both be 0. So you can't use easing as well. It's all about the move time. So if you want it to move 4 seconds, or let's just do 5 seconds. As you saw, it just moved 5 seconds with us, and then it stopped moving. You can also use lock player Y. Now whenever you move up or down, you can see there, does that. But if you add both of them together, you get this. It follows you wherever you go, so it'll do all the actions that you do. And that is pretty much it about the move trigger. And that's all that you'll really need to know. You can also move a target group 1 point equals 1 grid step in case you ever forget. That was the tutorial on how to use the move trigger, an extensive guide. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.